This is my formal statement of appreciation. Thank you to Herman Brister III for saying what everybody already knows, but not enough people are comfortable saying. Hulk Hogan, we're coming. No, I'm joking. Jackson State, we're coming for you. Oh, yeah, it's locked on HBCU. Play my music.
You are Locked On HBCU, your daily podcast covering HBCU sports. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, family? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On HBCU podcast, your number one daily one-stop shop for everything HBCU athletics, Monday through Friday. I'm so eager to represent my school. Matter of fact, let's just jump to it. You know who I am. It's Darrion Gray, a.k.a. the Mouth of the South, a.k.a. Texas Southern alum and former TSU Herald Sports editor and current site expert at Who Dat Dish and contributing writer at USA Today Saints Wire. I'm so eager to get and representing my university, representing my publication. I couldn't wait. But this is your number one daily one-stop shop for everything HBCU athletics as well. Let's not forget it. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege to get $20 off your first purchase. We'll wrap up today's episode with a two-part Monday mailbag. We had a really fun and interactive week of comments. I noticed those as I was going throughout the week. So I was excited to get to today's Monday mailbag. And when I went through them, they did not disappoint. We got about 3 or 4 that we'll respond to. So let's get into that in segment 2. But today's episode starts off with me saying thank you to Herman Brister III because he said what we already know, and that's that Southern is gunning for Jackson State. The FAMU tidbit of this was a little bit new, but I'm also very appreciative because he didn't play it safe like everybody else does. And I get tired as a person in the media. I get tired of hearing the same, hey man, we just focused on going 1-0. We just focused on next week. I get tired of that, right? Herman Brister, and I think he was a really good person to say it because he's one of the better players on the team, but we'll get into this in a second. Herman Brister was talking to, I think, Go Nation. Man, Go Nation has been doing a lot of great work with Southern. They're the ones who I saw break the Trey Holly news. They're the ones who got Terrence Graves' comments about Trey Holly a week after he's been in practice. Now they got this quote from Herman Brister. Go Nation has been on a really hot streak, at least with publicizing the quotes that they're getting, because other people are out there. I'm sure other people's cameras are rolling, but other people aren't getting these out on social media and getting the traction that Go Nation is getting. So shout out to my guys out there in Baton Rouge. That being said, Brister starts off with the generic stuff. That is true. And I do feel like there is a place to vocalize the generic, right? You don't have to have a soundbite every time that you speak. Sometimes the generic stuff is true. There's a reason that everybody says it because it is very true. It's not a non-answer. It's just not the answer that most people are looking for. But Brister starts off by saying, at the end of the day, if we're not winning a SWAC championship, it doesn't matter. And I do think that Southern is kind of in that zone. When you go to 2 SWAC championships in 3 seasons, you do kind of get to the point of saying, hey, getting here isn't enough. It's make or break now. It's boom or bust now. Like, we have to win the championship, and he was saying the focus is clear. Anything short of a SWAC title isn't enough. And I think that puts a very clear emphasis not only on where Southern is, but where they should be. Right, I have my reservations about Southern from 2024, and we'll get into that in the Monday mailbag, actually. But they should be in a spot where they feel like it's championship or nothing else. I think the moment that you make it to a conference championship, the moment you make it to I was actually saying conference championship in terms of the NFL, but the same thing can be said in college. You make it to a conference championship, even if you lose, the next season, unless you're just one of those schools who legitimately got lucky, like I think it was Maryland Eastern Shore. No, it was Coppin State. I think it was Coppin State a couple of years ago, who they made it to the MEAC finals, but they were like one of the worst teams in the regular season. I don't know if they came into the next season saying it's boom or bust, right? At least not vocalizing that. Every single year, the goal is to make it to a championship. But I think there's a select few schools who coming into the season would say it's boom or bust. There's things you have to do to work your way into that. And for Southern, only losing technically 1 game in conference play, I believe. I think that Jackson State game was actually an out-of-conference matchup. I could be wrong, but I think it was an out of conference matchup because I remember them going 7-1 in SWAC play. That's just where my memory's at with it. But I don't know. I'm acting like I have to do that. I could just look to see what it was. Yeah, they were 7-1. So that FAMU game obviously counted against them. But here's the thing. You give me all of that. SWAC championship is the goal. It's boom or bust. Cool. We appreciate that. And I think that's valid. I think that's extremely valid. But at the same time, and he says the start in Atlanta, end in Atlanta is cool. You playing the MEAC SWAC Challenge. You want to get to the Celebration Bowl. I know what your goals are. But when I ask you what game you're looking forward to, don't tell me North Carolina Central because it's week 1. Yeah, you probably are looking forward to that. But Herman Brister did what nobody else seems to want to do, seems to be comfortable enough doing. And that's saying we have certain games on the schedule that we're circling. And my thing is, when it comes to Jackson State specifically, is anybody surprised? Like, I think people don't want to do it because they don't want it to be bulletin board material. You don't want to give them motivation. And I think there's a degree to that. There is a degree to that when it comes to talking trash, right? When it comes to being disrespectful. I think there is a certain portion that's legitimate, right? I don't want to give them anything else to fire them up. But at the same time, this is already a rivalry. This is already a rivalry. I don't think Jackson State needed any encouragement to want to go out there and beat Southern. I don't think Southern needed any encouragement to go out there and beat Jackson State, right? Like let's be real. And everybody's shooting for Jackson. Everybody. They're the champs. They're on top. They've won the conference 3 of the last 4 years. They're looked at as the premier program in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. They are the school that you have to shoot for. So even though Southern and Herman Brister is saying this from a very personal standpoint, you beat us in the Boombox Classic, you beat us in the SWAC Championship, I can guarantee you every single one of the other institutions not named Jackson State are shooting for Jackson State. It's not complicated. It's not a hidden statement. Everybody is aware of this. So I didn't really have a problem when he comes out, and I give you the exact quote for this one as well. He says, do I have the quote? Oh, here we go. He said, it's going to be different when we play Jackson and FAMU. Period. It's going to be different. We're coming to win that game. That is his message. That last part is me ad-libbing. But he said, it's going to be different when we play Jackson and FAMU. Why do I have a problem with that? Why would I have a problem with that? I understand Coach Graves probably didn't like it. Oh, you don't want to give him no more motivation. Man, I don't really think that this is disrespectful. I don't think that this was even really a call out is kind of a stretch to me. It's simply saying we lost 2 games to 2 schools that are within our conference, one of which we lost to twice. This is a game that we want to get back. We want to win. Like, you got to remember, Jackson State beat Southern in the SWAC championship. So one of those losses is keeping me from making it to my ultimate goal of finishing my season in Atlanta. And this is probably saying Jackson State is going to be a team that we have to go through or could go through. Same with FAMU. It wouldn't shock me if looking at those 2 games, Herman Brister is thinking to himself, I'm going to have to beat one of those teams in the SWAC championship. So I don't have a problem with this. I love it. I encourage it. I want more people to do it. I do. I want more people to do it. Coaches, level of professionalism, and I use air quotes, were those high enough, right? Level of professionalism and whatnot. I get it. You're not going to do it. Let Brister do it. And I think he's a good player to do it. Could you go through there? Tied with most interceptions, tied with most fumble recoveries, right? Preseason second team all SWAC defensive back. So he has the cachet. That's the other thing. It'd be one thing if a guy who, I don't want to call him a nobody, but somebody who isn't well known on the team, isn't one of the stars of the squad, comes out and he's talking. That's one thing. But when you're looking at Brister, I think that he has a level of play that positions him as a leader. I don't know his dynamic in the locker room, but I think that his level of play positions him as a leader. I think that his position to play signals him as one of the best players on that unit as well. Obviously, Kelby Givens is going to get the crown. Kelby Givens is going to get the crown, but Brister is one of the best players. He was the guy to say this. He has earned that right. When you go through the history, Southern hasn't beat FAMU since they came into the SWAC. It gets even worse when you go into Jackson State. Southern versus Jackson State. has been won by JSU the last 6 times that they played. 2 of those times were in SWAC championship games. And they're 1 game away from tying the longest win streak against the Jaguars, which is interesting because this comes right on the backside of Jackson State having their longest losing streak against the Jaguars, right? So like they lost 8 in a row, and then they broke that record, or that broke that streak, excuse me, in 2021, I believe. I think they lost their last game in 2020. And then they broke that streak in 2021, and they've won 6 straight since. Jackson State, we're all gunning for you. But obviously with Southern, it's a little bit more personal in the regular season, and then the postseason ramifications make it a little bit more personal there as well. Southern has been a game away from the Celebration Bowl twice in the last 3 years. Both times, they were thwarted by JSU. So yeah, let's get it back. I want to hear what you got to say, Brister, excuse me. Now as you push forward, I actually have some more to say about Southern, because a comment about Alcorn and their status within the SWAC, I wanted to respond to that, and I will as we continue with Locked On HBCU. Today's episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. I don't know about you, but I've been there. It's been hard for me to get out of bed. Maybe I have a tea time. Maybe you're a golf player, right? Maybe that's what your cup of tea is. For me, 5 Hour Energy helps me fuel up and turn it up. It brings the bold grape, ginger, and lime flavor of your favorite golf drink without the alcohol into a quick, energizing shot. So whether you're sinking birdies or just making memories with friends, this one's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Listen, I get it. It's all about good times with good people and good flavors when you're on that golf course. The grape, ginger, lime flavor gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go-to without chasing down a beverage cart. So if you go to 5 Hour Energy today, that's the number 5, hourenergy.com. You can use my promo code LOCKEDONGOLF to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. Whether you're meeting up with friends or trying to turn 18 holes into 36, get the energizing boost you need to power through. Order transfusion flavored 5 Hour Energy shots today. As we continue rolling on today's episode of Locked On HBCU, I appreciate you for making this your first listen of the day every day. For your second listen, make sure you're checking out Locked On NFL. The action is back. We have preseason for everybody this week, so stay up to date on everything for the best sport in America. Best sport in the world, in my money, but yeah. Let's get into this Monday mailbag. Because we had some really interesting mailbags to go over. So the first one I want to talk about is kind of a look at where where Alcorn falls in the SWAC. This was a hot button topic, and it's one that I actually did not think was going to be, right? Like, I based what I said off of what Alcorn's head coach said. So I didn't think that I would get a couple of comments back in the way that I did. But let's start off with none your biz at all, right? At none your biz at all. Alcorn could have easily won against Bama State and Southern. Those were not blowout games. Jackson State was the only real loss. That doesn't mean you're not, he put quotes, elite in your terms. Southern got lucky with their wins. Let's be honest. Alcorn has always been in the mix. You can't deny that. There's a lot being said by Mr. or Mrs. None Your Business. I can't deny that Alcorn has been in the mix. I won't deny that Alcorn has been in the mix. I also don't have a huge reverence for the SWAC West. Let's get that out the way now. I think that Southern was a solid team last year, but there was many times when I felt very underwhelmed with what they were doing. I'll be honest with you. You go through and you look at their big time games. Y'all are their big time win. I'm just gonna be honest with you. Y'all are their big time win because of what it meant for the SWAC West. But I wasn't falling in love with the performance that was going on in this division. That's number one, right? So they have been in the mix, but I've had all of my attention on the East for the last 3-4 years. I've had all of my attention. I'm trying to think of the last time I walked out of the West and felt like, yeah, this could be one of the top teams. And that hasn't been the case since I've been doing this show. Be honest with you, it just hasn't been the case. So I get what you're saying. But here's the thing. Jackson State is also not Alcorn's only real loss. They're not, no matter how you want to spin it, right? And I'm gonna try to get to every single part of this. I should have started with the elite comment because that's where this all comes from. I don't think that Alcorn was an elite team, and I think Cedric Thomas was explaining how Alcorn is not an elite team. But whatever. So I'll get to that last, I guess. Save the best for last. Jackson State is not Alcorn's only real loss. They lost to Southern. They lost to Bama State, and it's not as if they were robbed. They were close games, but they were still losses, and I think that's important, right? Like I understand what you're trying to say. They don't have this huge mark of separation. Well, if the slight separation comes from schools that are arguably in this elite tier, arguably, and I'm talking about have to make a real argument for it, in my opinion. And the only elite squad, there's only one real elite squad in the SWAC in 2024, and that was Jackson State. And that was a real loss, as you say, right? So to me, at the end of the day, you can try to negate the Bama State game. You can try to negate the Southern game, but it's on the record. It is on the record. And those go down as real losses. Those go down as Alcorn maybe being close, but not being able to get it done. And the truth of the matter is, we don't care how you lost if you lost. And we don't care how you lost if everything around you does not say we are giving you excuses, right? I think that when you lose close games and you want the benefit of the doubt, you have to earn it elsewhere. Give me another team that could lose against every good squad they played, and we'd say they were elite. Right? Like, okay, you lost close to Southern, but you beat Bama State. Or maybe you lost close to Bama State, but you beat Southern. Like, these are the type of situations that, yes, would be great. Those would be phenomenal stories. But it's not what happened for Alcorn. So, no, I don't think that Alcorn was elite last year. And yes, I do think losing to Bama State, Southern, and Jackson State is a huge reason on why they aren't. Right? Like, Cedric Thomas said that Alcorn won all the little games and lost all the big games. And like I say to you, give me the squad that could lose all the big games, yet win all the little games, and we'll call them elite. I'll give you an example. I'm a professional guy, right? Excuse me. I'm a professional guy. I like the NFL. That is my cup of tea. Over everything else, that is my cup of tea. You have a squad, goes 13-3. But their 3 losses are against 3 of the top teams, maybe 2 in the opposite conference, 1 in your conference that's also a divisional champion. But you're feasting on a bunch of trash squads, right? But you're 13-3. How are we talking about that team? I'll give it to you again. You're 13-3, so you have a phenomenal record. You're arguably 1 or 2 when we're talking about seeding in your conference. But all of your 13 win games, or excuse me, all of your 13 wins come against schools or teams that we're not overly impressed with. But when you have to face top tier competition, you fell short. I'll tell you how I think we're talking about that team. We're talking about that team going into the playoffs with questions. Don't let you lose in the first round when you actually have to go against playoff teams. Now we're dismissing them. You're not elite because you don't beat anybody good. Elite teams beat good elite teams, or excuse me, elite teams beat good to elite teams. That's just how it goes. We got to be honest about this. And I'm not even trying to be disrespectful to you, Mr. or Mrs. None of your business. All I'm saying is the school was not elite in 2024. They were in the mix for the SWAC West, but I also don't think that Southern was elite in 2024. But they win the division, so I guess they can work their way into that top tier conversation, but they were not elite, right? Like they were not on the level of Jackson State. So I'm sorry. I genuinely do not see it this way. Genuinely do not see it this way. And I'll use this example again. You can't beat all the little teams, and then when you face top tier competition, lose every single time. Not most times. Alcorn lost against every single quality opponent that they had. That puts them, in my opinion, even if it's a slight tier below, they are below the good teams. They just are. Maybe they're even with Bama State. Maybe that. But as far as 2024 goes, Cedric Thomas saw it this way too. Cedric Thomas's words are what inspired this. Cedric Thomas's words are what made me realize there was a division between the games that Alcorn won and the games that Alcorn lost. Right? So disagreeing with me, I believe, would be disagreeing with Cedric Thomas. And you can disagree with your coach. But I would just ask you to answer this. If you beat all the bad teams and you lose to all the good teams, are we supposed to consider you one of the good teams? Let's push forward, though. Let's push forward and get into a couple of more comments. We're going to be a little bit more rapid fire after this, but let's get into this as we wrap up with episode of Locked On HBCU. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime, and I've been trying to get these tickets for months and months and months. I'm going to have to clear my schedule. I'm going to have to clear my schedule so that I can get to a Wings game, see who they're playing. They just traded Dejanay. I got my girl Paige Buckets still there. Paige Buckets is still there. Arike still there. So we got some hoopers on the squad. I'm going to have to go check out my Wings. Local squad. Got to get down there. And the only place I do it is Gametime. I don't even go look at any other places because I know who has the best prices. I know who offers the best deal. I know who's going to get me all in pricing so that they don't sneak a couple dollars in at the end of the process. I hate that. And because Gametime doesn't do it to me, I appreciate them for it. Be like me. Be like my friend who said, man, I've been on there since 2013. Do the right thing like Spike Lee, and that's go to Gametime. And as a reward, if you're new, you get $20 off your first purchase. All you have to do is create an account and use the code LOCKEDONCollege to get $20 off your first purchase. As we're wrapping up today's episode of Locked On HBCU, I appreciate you for making this your first listen of the day every day, making it all the way to segment 3, and I thank you 2 times for that. Thank you. Let's go through a couple of more comments. I think we're just going to do 2 because 2 of them were about Cam Newton, so I'll just combine that into 1. But this comes from @Mr.Don't-Play06, and this isn't about Cam. He says, yo, PV, first off, come on, man. Come on now. All right? You said don't play with me. All right? Don't ain't no yo, PV. Come on, I'm assuming you this is on YouTube, so I know you see behind me. What are we talking about? Yo, PV coach? I'm going to change that for you. The PV coach ain't doing nothing new. TC Taylor been getting 3 to 4 star recruits a year ahead. That is not an unknown thing, bro. Or this is not an unknown thing, bro. Man, please stop it. I got 2 problems with this. 1, you are making Jackson State all HBCUs. That's number 1, right? Then you hating on what PV's doing, and it's a very successful thing. So I guess I got 3 problems. And then lastly, I think you capping. I had to go look, right? Because TC Taylor's only been the coach for 2 seasons. So this idea that he's been doing anything, I don't know about that. He's been doing it. Has he done it before? 2023 couldn't have done it. He got hired in December, so he could not have done it. Hired in December 2022, right? Okay, boom, take that out the way. 2024, he didn't do it at all. I went and I looked. And this is all going based off of 24/7. This is off the Clarion Ledger's list of the recruits. And I know that certain Jackson State fans feel a certain way about the Ledger. I would think that this is something I could trust them for, though. That's how I would feel. Just how I would think, right? I think they're trustworthy for these are the recruits, right? I go through them. They have 5 high school recruits that were 3 stars. All 5 of them committed in December or later. So this idea that he's been doing it, I'm not saying he's never done it. And there was no 4 stars in there, but 24/7 versus another publication, like stars are very off. But the point is, on 24/7, I'm not going to go check everybody's. This didn't happen. Right? Like I had to go look because you said 3 to 4 stars been happening, told me to stop it. So I had to really see if I should stop. And I don't feel like I should. But the thing about Jackson State not being all HBCUs is, let's say Jackson State is doing this. Let's just say they are. Okay. How many other schools are doing it? PV's doing it. I think this is a big deal for them. This is the 4th highest recruit in their school history, right? And I actually have no animosity, to be honest, outside of the game, outside of the actual Labor Day Classic. I could care less what PV does or doesn't do. But yeah, like this is a special moment for PV. And just because Jackson State has done something like this in the past does not make it regular. Jackson State is a phenomenal recruiting school, right? Like they do this very well. I don't think that you can go find, and if you can, I will stop it. If you can find 5 schools that gets 5+ extra or 3 to 4 stars on a year basis ahead, I'll stop. If you can find me 5 schools that has 5 3 to 4 star players that commit before their senior season of high school on a regular basis, I'll stop. And I know you can. That's not a thing. So I think we should just appreciate when we see a rarity. This is a big deal for PV. And I would like to say that the whole dynasty talk that I had, that I think really is what created this comment. I think this is really what created it. And I even said that 3 to 4 stars going to HBCUs or 3 stars going to HBCUs isn't irregular. I've been saying that. I always felt like he was in the grasp. We just don't talk about that a lot. The dynasty talk, that's just how much I believe in Texas high school football. Come on, man. It's where I'm from. Of course, I have a certain level of belief. But yeah, man, I just think that I know there's a lot of inside information that comes with HBCU content, and you got to know this insider at this school and all of that. But I felt like this was hating behavior, and I got to call it out. I don't care if it's about PV or not. We got to cut that out. Then you go to Cam. Soul Survivor said, does Cam know anything about HBCUs? Imagine the background and knowledge base necessary to represent the SEC, etc. I have the watch and said, I don't think Cam knows how many HBCU schools that play football and is just talking out loud. It's going to be interesting to see if anything comes from it. I don't think anything does come from it, but I'll say this. If Cam were to do this, it wouldn't be a 3-hour show. It'd probably be an hour program weekly at one school. I think that expecting Cam to do this all by himself, this is the Soul Survivor, I don't think that he would do that. I think he has somebody like a journalist who is there on his side to be the guy, and then Cam can just be charismatic and be an analyst. And I think that's all he needs to be. He shouldn't need to be anything more than an analyst, right? Like, I just want to be very clear with that. I think oftentimes we act like this HBCU depth of knowledge is necessary to talk about the sport. And at times it is, because there's a lot of other things that come into play. But if we're just analyzing what happens on the field, Cam is qualified because he can analyze what happens on the field. I don't need to go to Virginia Union. I don't need to go to Hampton. I don't need to go to Tennessee State. I don't need to go to Jackson State in order to talk about what those schools are doing on the field, in order to talk about these coverages, in order to talk about these tendencies, to talk about all of these aspects of these schools. That should not be a prerequisite to talk about football. And I don't think Cam gets into the topics where I need to have a depth of Tennessee State's lack of funding and all. I don't think Cam gets to that point. So I think Cam can have a great pregame show, a great postgame show, a great tailgate show without ever actually diving into some of the systemic aspects that have held back HBCUs. And I think he can do it without being disrespectful, because you don't have to talk about those things. I don't do it all the time, right? If you're talking about what happens on the field, I think Tuskegee can exploit Savannah State because Savannah State's safeties tend to do this. It can happen. I do think that could be something that happens easily and done well. Also, you look at Big Ten Network, they have a bunch of people who didn't play in the Big Ten. All right. So, like, you don't have to have an HBCU or a conference specific knowledge. You just need to have knowledge of the game and a name. Cam has both. On tomorrow, we're going to talk about somebody else who has a name, but I think that name's going to get bigger. His name is Travis Terrell. In the meantime, in between time, until the next time we hear each other, family, take care, stay blessed. Peace.